Please bow your head. This Randy wants to say a little prayer for missionaries. So just bow, please.
Is it on? Yes.
So you know. Today, Sheila and I I volunteered, Sheila just said okay. Thus, she is going to be my Vanna White today. All right, so we're doing food and customs, and first of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming today and staying. Typically, these mission studies are on Sunday evenings, and not a lot of people come because we understand lives are busy, but this is an important subject, and that's why Miss Faye was willing to take our day, which is usually WMU Day, and we do other things, but we decided to focus on this because this is important information that we wanted to share with everybody, and thank you for staying today. Okay, as we have seen in the videos, open-air markets are the norm for this culture. Local staples sold at these markets are yams, maize, cassava, which is a root like the yam, millet, which is a type of grain, sorghum, and peanuts. Many Ivorians grow crops to sell as well as food for their own consumption. Many of them raise chickens to eat. The people in Ivory Coast grow their own food out of necessity for sheer survival. In our country, while many may have a garden as a hobby, they do not rely on it as their own food source. Although we can probably have a few members in our congregation who have lived that way, but in today's society, that's nothing that we have to do on. We actually can jump in our cars, go to the nearest grocery store, and get everything we need to prepare our daily meals. Other street foods in the Ivory Coast include yam fries, fried fish, and fufu made from fermented and mashed vegetables such as cassava and plantains. A popular snack is a loco, which is fried bananas served with onions and chilies. This must be their take on sweet and salty, is my only guess. Peanuts are a favorite snack here as well, but they also use peanut oil rather than butter to give flavor to their meat and fish. They even make a sauce with ground peanuts, chilies, and tomatoes. And I'm guessing that that's their version of ketchup. Now, a popular dish for this culture would be a dish called kejanu. It is chicken with braised vegetables. The recipe we found calls for chicken, onions, peeled and diced tomatoes, ginger root, garlic, bay leaf, salt, pepper, and hot red peppers. And there are a lot of people, Americans, don't like hot peppers, so we left that out of our recipe. But I want you to keep in mind that they grow and pick these vegetables that they use, and they also kill their own chicken. We didn't pluck Gretel there at all. She came from the store. Okay, this dish can be served with rice or fish. Today we're going to be serving it with rice. A tiki, which they mentioned in the video, is a popular side dish, and it's made from grated cassava. This has the consistency of, which is similar to couscous. The only problem with this popular dish is that it has to be consumed within 24 hours of being made. When I first read this, the very first thing that came to my mind was the manna that the people ate in Moses' day, because it was created daily. Now, some of the country's most tasty food can be found in people's homes. The Ivorians are generous, hospitable people who enjoy inviting others to join them for a meal. Ivorians believe that those who are blessed enough to be able to prepare a meal should also share their good fortune with others. Now, in a typical village, villagers eat together in a common area. They believe eating not only gives the body nourishment, but also unites people with community spirit. See, they are already Baptists in the making. Because we sure do like to eat. And oh my gosh. Okay. Sheila is having some people over for lunch today. Who would like to come up and eat with Sheila? Now we're going to need at least one boy and a girl, and we're going to need a man and a woman. Volunteers. Okay, Cody's volunteering. Who else?
Come on, it's really good.
Okay, Kevin. Hope? Okay, Hope. You need one woman, all right. I know Amanda's already said no. BT, if you would like to come, you're welcome.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Okay, you can come too. We need a woman. Come on. All right, Nancy. Nancy's going to be the brave one. All right, now just follow Sheila. You don't need to do anything yet. All right, so we have our people. Now just know that villagers typically eat on mats placed on the floor. Today we're just going to pretend. However, women and girls eat as one group, men are in another group, and then the young boys make up the third group. The first thing I need you to know is that you have to eat with your right hand only. The left hand is considered dirty. And just know this is going to be hard for Sheila because she is in fact left-handed. Now my brother, who was in Special Forces, once told me of training he did with some Turkish soldiers. He said that was also their tradition of eating with the right hand. But my brother said if he could not get into the front of that chow line before some of those soldiers, that he absolutely could not eat because he knew what they had been doing with their left hand, because they would still eat with their left hand. And this is a man who was trained in survival, and he was too grossed out knowing where that left hand was and what it was used for. So just know it takes not the faint of heart. Now the eldest villagers, which Nancy, I'm thinking that's going to be you, have to eat first. They do this in order to detect any contaminated or sour food. If bad food is suspected, the elder members will stop the younger members, including children, from eating from the bowl. Now normally, villagers scoop up their food from large bowls placed in the center of the mat for everyone to share. And I must tell you that Sheila, Faith, and Debbie experienced a very similar situation when they went to China. The food was put in the middle of the table, and they would just take their chopsticks and get what they wanted from the middle of the table. It took Sheila a few days to realize that everyone was doing more than just double dipping.
I'm still trying to work with chopsticks with the left hand.
However, for today, Sheila will give you some in your own bowl. Most often, rice is rolled into a tight ball and is used to scoop up meat and sauce. So Sheila's going to give you your own little bowl. Okay, next, she's gonna give them their little rice ball. Now just keep in mind, normally you just have everybody digging from the main bowl, and that's how they're eating, so we're doing it. So you feel better, Amanda? Okay. Amanda said, I will not eat after somebody else. Okay. Now go ahead and try it. Give it a try. See how well you can do with picking up your sauce and your meat with your rice ball. See if you can do it. Come on now. Okay, now once everyone has begun eating, there are some rules that need to be followed. It is considered rude and selfish to reach across the table for food. Coughing, sneezing, and talking during the meal is discouraged. If a person needs to cough or sneeze, they need to get up off the mat and go over to the side and walk away. Now, with these rules, I am certain that their problem is not cell phones, because we know we had an issue with that, but I'll guarantee you in this culture that is not a problem. Okay, sorry to cut your meal short, but it's dessert time. Desserts are typically fruit, since they have such a wide range grown in Ivory Coast. And they have things like mangoes, we have some in the front, mandarins, avocados, bananas, pineapples, pomegranates, passion fruit, and coconut. Today, we have made some cornmeal cookies. Now, to be honest, Sheila and I thought that the batter tasted a lot like sugar cookie dough, because, you know, any good cooks don't taste the batter. But it has a bit of a cornmeal texture to it. All right. What do you guys think it tastes like? Nancy, what do you think it tastes like?
Sugar cookies.
Sugar cookies? Oh, what do you think? No, how it taste? Just good? Nathan, what's it taste like?
I did want to try.
Oh, okay, Cody.
Cornbread.
Cornbread? Cornbread. So that's what Sheila and I thought. We thought that it tasted a lot like sweet cornbread, because I know Jiffy Mix is one of my favorite. I love cornbread, the sweet one. Okay, now that we're done eating, let's say after the meal, this is where a bowl of water is going to be passed around. This is when they wash their hands, after the meal. So everybody needs to wash their little hands. And after they've been finished washing their hands, this now is when they start talking, and they will sit back and relax and digest their meal. Lastly, the Ivory Coast is the largest producer of cocoa beans. As a matter of fact, 1/4 of the Ivorians are involved in the production of cocoa. As you will see in the next video, unfortunately, many of them are actually children. However, we did want to recognize cocoa as being their main crop, so we have made some other treats for you to eat. We have no-bake cookies, which uses cocoa and peanut butter, one of my favorites, and energy bites that are made with cocoa, peanut butter, coconut, and a bunch of other things. After the service, we are going to invite you all to come up and try the cornmeal cookies, some Kejino, or one of the cocoa treats if you'd like. So after the service, the food's going to be up here if you'd all like to come up and try some of it on your own. And we just want to thank you for coming, and please remember to come up afterwards to try. And I also would hope that you have learned just a little something and perhaps realize just how blessed we are as a nation.
showing if you had a problem with this, getting it going. The devil don't want us to see it. We thought we had it set up so it would play, but since we're running a little over, Corey, just forget about it. Okay? In 2007, Mike Heather McAfee, I have a hard time pronouncing that name, so if I get my tongue twisted, then y'all forgive me. They arrived in Ivory Coast, Africa, and their assignment was to work with one ethnic group, the Mosses. And so they thought that's what they were going to be doing there in the Ivory Coast. Well, after a short period of time, their assignment expanded to cover the entire city of Abidjan. And they are supposed to, as church planners, they're supposed to understand the multitude of ethnicities and neighborhoods and to make an impact there for Christ. And that's a big assignment, isn't it? And there are a lot of people. So they have some obstacles that they have to overcome. And one of the biggest obstacles the McAfees face is what they call the theology of place. And that's where if you walk around or drive around Abidjan, you'll see a mosque on almost every corner, much like we see the Christian churches in the Bible Belt here around us. You're just about anywhere. You don't have to go a mile from one church to see another church there. So that's one of the problems, the obstacles that they have to overcome. Another obstacle is the cultural significance of worship in buildings like mosques and the big, beautifully built Catholic churches. They just can't seem to grasp the fact that a small group of people meeting in a makeshift place under a tree or in a building or any place that you can find somebody's home or whatever, they can't seem to grasp the idea that can be a church, and so that it's going to grow into a church at some kind of a bigger church. So that makes it difficult for them too. And another unmistakable obstacle is dealing with the influence of the African tribal religions. The Islam and the Catholics will allow them to bring a degree of their animistic beliefs with them into their faith. But Mike says what we're telling them to do is to drop all that and believe the word where Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. So Mike is trying to teach them that Jesus is the way, not a way, and that they can't bring their other beliefs with them into Christianity. He says, we pray that they'll be able to drop their other religions and their other gods and only follow Jesus. Freedom of religion is a given there. They're very strongly believe in freedom of religion, and that makes it easier for the McAfees to talk freely with the Muslims about Jesus. They don't have any problem. The Muslims don't have a problem with it either. They like to hear the stories. The Muslims think that it's always a good thing to talk about God. And their idea, though, is that they are worshiping the same God that we are. And so they come to a point that after they have storied with and told the stories from Christ from creation to resurrection, and then they ask them, after they have heard the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, do you still think that we serve the same God? Is your God willing to die for you? That's quite a powerful question, isn't it? And it's a challenge to these Muslims when they ask them that. But the Muslims love to hear the stories, and they love talking to people about God, but when it comes to accepting Jesus Christ as their Savior, they have a difficult time with that. And one of the main reason is because of the price they have to pay. And they truly have to stop and consider the cost of becoming a Christian. I read something that kind of was a challenge to me. It was talking about the price that the people pay, or the Muslims have to pay if they accept Jesus as their Savior. And the way that a person is accepted into the Muslim religion, when they if a Christian is converted to Islam, how they rally around them and they really take them in and make them feel like part of the family and all. And they said, yeah, when a Muslim becomes a Christian, they're cast out by the Muslims. They're cast out of their family, they lose their family, they lose their home, they lose all their friends and their jobs and everything. And so they don't have any support. But if a Christian becomes a Muslim, they take them in and they give them all the support and everything that they can think of. But would we take in somebody else and give them the support? Do we take in other believers when they accept Jesus? Do we give them all the support that they need? We need to make sure that we do. God is at work in the Ivory Coast. We can see that in the life of Bakara Bamba. He was a young Muslim man, and Bamba was in need of a job. And one of his friends told him about some missionaries that wanted to go to the northern part of the Ivory Coast for an evangelism mission. So Bamba said he would take them there because they were going to pay him. And so Mike McAfee was one of the missionaries that was in the group wanting to go to the northern Ivory Coast. And he was just learning to speak the Jula language, and Bamba was a Jula speaker, so they agreed that they would chat with each other while they were on this trip into the northern part of Ivory Coast. So Bamba saw these missionaries that they brought aid to the people there. They brought medicines that helped to heal the sick people that were sick, and they brought medication for the children who had the distended bellies because of the worms, and they gave out pills for malaria. And so on the way back from this trip, they stopped to visit with an Ivorian pastor, and that was when Bamba said that the dreaded question came to him. What do you think the dreaded question might have been? Are you a Muslim? And he said yes. But in his head, he said he was thinking, oh, it's going to start again. They're going to start evangelizing to me. He said, I was impatient to arrive back in Abidjan because I wanted to quickly rid myself of these Christians. But he didn't stay rid of the Christians for very long, because there was another missionary that began to spend some time with him, and he gave him a Bible, and during this period of time, Mike McAfee was also storying with Bamba and his family. And Bamba didn't mind that as long as he was telling him the stories, but he just didn't want to put on the spot and to have to make a decision for accepting Jesus or be staying a Muslim. So he got the Bible, and he said when he opened the Bible for the very first time, and I like the way he said this, I fell across the Gospel of John. He said, and I read, and I read, and I read, and it was really difficult for me to stop reading. But Bamba he was asked then to take another group of missionaries up to the northern Ivory Coast. And this was a group of missionaries, volunteer missions and missionaries, the missionaries, that was going up to a place to present a drama. And it was the story of Jesus, of his death and his resurrection and all. And Baba said that he was very much touched by the drama and the message that the book presented. Baba said to himself, you have to have love for others. You have to love God to buy plane tickets for 35 people to travel this far. Baba wanted to meet God. He wanted to know this God who could motivate such love. And as a result, he accepted Christ and began sharing his faith with others before he ever got back home. This was while he was up in the northern Ivory Coast, that he accepted Jesus and immediately began sharing the gospel with others. And the writer says, that's the way the early church was. When people accepted the Lord, they started sharing immediately with others. That's the way it should be with us too, shouldn't it? And it shouldn't end. It should continue instead of just lasting for a short period of time. Baba's Muslim family and friends were not happy about his decision. And Baba said, I knew it would be difficult, and I knew that if you don't have the faith, you will go back. So he said, I forged ahead, but I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed a lot. He later told somebody, he said, God gave me work, and my youngest, who will be a year old soon, came into this world. And so all this grace, I think it's the Lord, and I can do nothing but thank Him. God often speaks to Muslims through dreams and visions too. Said there was Mustafa, was a very staunch Muslim, and he got sick, and he just kept getting sicker and sicker. And so they knew that he got to a point, they knew he was dying. And so they called in all the imams and all of the people in the Muslim faith to come in and pray for him. And they did, and he got worse and worse. And a Christian woman, African woman, came and she asked him if she could pray for him. And so his family said yes. They thought he was going to die anyway. What could it hurt? So they said yes, and she started praying for him. And as she started praying for him, he began to have a vision of a man in white. And see, he had a white rope around his waist. And the man in white says took the rope and told Mustafa to take hold of that rope and follow him.